The Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council fell silent as Ambassador Tom Reed walked in. The human diplomat looked small compared to the towering alien representatives who filled the massive room. Hundreds of different species watched from their floating platforms, their eyes, sensors, and other sensing organs all focused on the human. The head council member, an ancient being with silvery skin, raised all four of their arms for silence. "This emergency session of the Galactic Council will now begin," they announced, their voice echoing through the chamber. "We are here to discuss the matter of humanity's growing influence in galactic affairs." Tom Reed stood calmly at the speaker's platform, his gray suit and white hair making him look more like a friendly grandfather than a representative of one of the most dangerous species in the galaxy. He had spent 15 years representing Earth in these chambers, but today felt different. "Honorable Council," a tall, blue-skinned alien called out, "I must speak. These humans, they are expanding too quickly. Their ships are everywhere. Their traders are in every port. And their military vessels." The alien shuddered. "Their military vessels carry enough weapons to destroy entire fleets." Reed smiled politely. He had heard this argument before. Another council member, a being made of pure crystal, floated forward. "Let us show the evidence," they said, activating the chamber's main display. Images appeared in the air above them. Scenes from Earth's history. The council chamber watched in horror as images of human wars played out before them. World War I, World War II, and countless other conflicts flashed across the screen. But what truly frightened the alien representatives wasn't the fighting. It was what happened to human society during these wars. "Look," the crystal being pointed. "When humans fight, they don't just send armies. Their entire civilization changes. Factories stop making normal goods and start making weapons. Civilian ships become military vessels. Every part of their society joins the war effort." Tom Reed nodded slowly. "We call it total war," he explained. "Though it's not something we're proud of, it's part of our history." A small green alien jumped up. "That's exactly what worries us. Other species fight wars for territory or resources. But humans," the alien's voice shook, "humans fight until the enemy completely surrenders. You don't stop at winning. You remake entire societies." The head council member raised their arms again. "Ambassador Reed, your species has been part of our galactic community for only 20 years. In that time, you have been peaceful traders and helpful allies. But we have studied your history. When humans fight, they fight with everything they have. You turn your entire economy into a war machine. Every citizen becomes part of the effort. You don't just fight wars, you wage them totally." Reed stepped forward. "Members of the council, we don't want war. Humans prefer peace. But you're right. If we're forced to fight, we commit completely. That's why I'm here today with a warning." The chamber grew quieter than ever. "We've noticed increasing attacks on our trading ships near the borders of the Blue Ring Empire. We've seen the Crystal Collective building up forces near our colonies." Reed's voice grew firmer. "I'm here to warn you all. Don't push us into a war. You won't like how we fight it." The head council member's silver skin paled slightly. "Are you threatening the council, Ambassador?" Reed shook his head. "No, I'm trying to prevent something terrible. You've all seen our history. You know what happens when humans go to war. We don't want that. Nobody wants that." He looked around the chamber. "We're happy to trade, to share knowledge, to be friends. But if someone forces us to fight..." He let the words hang in the air. An older council member, one who had studied Earth's history extensively, spoke up. "Listen to him," they said quietly. "Their history is full of the same pattern. Humans warn their enemies. The enemies don't listen." And then, they didn't need to finish the sentence. The council chamber remained silent for a long time after that. The warning had been given. The question now was, would anyone be foolish enough to ignore it? 3 months after Ambassador Reed's warning to the Galactic Council, the situation at the edges of human space grew worse. The massive trading ship, Star Merchant, drifted in space, its hull torn open by energy weapons. It was the fifth human vessel attacked this week. Captain Jack Miller of the Earth Defense Fleet stood on his bridge, looking at the damaged ship through his viewport. "Any survivors?" he asked his crew. "Yes, sir," his first officer replied. "The crew made it to the escape pods. But, sir, we found something else. This trading ship was carrying grain and medicine, but someone planted weapons in its cargo hold. Weapons that look like they're from the Blue Ring Empire." Miller's face darkened. Someone was trying to make humans look bad by smuggling weapons through their space. He sent an urgent message to Earth Command. Back on Earth, Ambassador Reed sat in an emergency meeting with the Earth Defense Council. The room was simple but important, with just a large round table and screen showing space maps on the walls. "The Blue Ring Empire is pushing into the Crystal Collective's territory," General Thompson explained, pointing to the map. "Both sides are getting ready for war, and they're both trying to drag us into it." Reed nodded. "I tried talking to both sides last week. The Blue Rings think the Crystal Collective is weak and easy to defeat. The Crystals think the Blue Rings are primitive brutes. Neither side will listen to reason. And now they're attacking our ships," Admiral Rogers added, "making it look like we're helping their enemies. They think they can trick us into fighting each other." A message flashed on the main screen. Another human ship had been attacked, this time with crew members killed. The room grew very quiet. "They don't understand us at all, do they?" Reed said softly. "They think they can play games with human lives. They didn't listen to our warning." In space, near the border of Blue Ring territory, Captain Miller's ship picked up an emergency signal. Another human vessel was under attack, but this time they were close enough to help. His ship, the Defender, raced toward the scene. They arrived to find a Blue Ring warship firing on a small human transport. Without hesitation, Miller ordered his ship to move between the attacker and the transport. "This is Captain Miller of the Earth Defense Fleet," he broadcast. "Stop your attack immediately." The Blue Ring ship fired again, this time at Miller's vessel. The shot bounced off their shields. "Final warning," Miller said calmly. "Withdraw now." The alien ship fired once more. Miller pressed a button, and his ship's weapons activated. One precise shot disabled the Blue Ring ship's main weapons. "Now they'll understand how humans fight," Miller said to his crew. "We gave them a chance to leave. We showed them our strength. And they still attacked." Back on Earth, the Defense Council watched recordings of the incident. General Thompson stood up. "It's time," he said. "We need to send our final diplomatic message." Ambassador Reed wrote the message himself. It was short and clear. "To the Blue Ring Empire and Crystal Collective. Your forces have attacked our ships, killed our people, and ignored our warnings. You have 48 hours to remove all military vessels from human space and pay compensation for the lives lost. If you do not comply, we will consider ourselves at war with any force that continues to threaten human lives or property. This is your only warning." As Reed sent the message, he remembered what he had told the Galactic Council 3 months ago. He had tried to prevent this. Now, if they didn't listen, they would learn why humans fought wars differently from everyone else. The next 48 hours would change the galaxy forever. The 48-hour warning passed. Neither the Blue Ring Empire nor the Crystal Collective took Earth's message seriously. Instead, they sent a joint reply that made many human leaders shake their heads in disbelief. "Your species is young and doesn't understand galactic politics," the message read. "Stay out of matters that don't concern you. Your ships are primitive, and your threats are empty." In his office overlooking Earth's capital city, Admiral James Porter watched massive cargo ships rising into the sky. He turned to General Thompson, who stood beside him. "They really don't understand what's about to happen, do they?" "No," Thompson replied, pressing a button on his desk. A hidden screen appeared, showing hundreds of factories across Earth. "Activate Production Plan 0. Authorization Code. Total Response." Across the planet, something amazing began to happen. Car factories stopped making cars and started building spacecraft parts. Clothing factories switched to making military uniforms. Food processing plants began producing military rations. Every factory, every industry, began changing what they made. In space, Captain Miller received new orders. His ship, along with thousands of others, moved into defensive positions around human colonies. "Sir," his first officer reported, "the Blue Ring Empire is laughing at our ships. They say our technology is 50 years behind theirs." Miller smiled. "They don't understand. We keep our best technology hidden. We build simple ships because they're easy to repair and make. But now," he pointed to his radar screen, where hundreds of hidden human spacecraft were appearing from secret bases. "Now they'll see what we can really do." Back on Earth, Ambassador Reed attended an emergency meeting of the Galactic Council. The alien representatives were shocked to see how calm he looked. "Your species must back down," the head council member demanded. "You cannot hope to fight two major powers at once." Reed stood up slowly. "We tried to warn you. We tried to solve this peacefully. But you should know something about humans. We don't fight like you do. We don't just send our military. When humans go to war, everything changes." He activated a small device, showing images of Earth. The alien representatives watched in surprise as entire cities transformed. Civilian buildings became military bases. Parks turned into training grounds. Every human was helping in some way. What is this?" a crystal being asked, its voice shaking. "This is how humans prepare for war," Reed explained. "Our entire civilization shifts. Every factory, every worker, every resource, everything focuses on one goal. You thought our ships were primitive. Watch what happens when we actually try." In orbit around Earth, massive shipyards that had been hidden behind the moon revealed themselves. New warships, built in secret over many years, moved into formation. They looked simple on the outside, but inside they carried technology the humans had kept hidden since joining the galactic community. Admiral Porter stood on the bridge of humanity's newest flagship, the Determination. Around him, thousands of ships gathered. Some were old trading vessels quickly converted for war. Others were advanced warships that no alien had ever seen before. "Status report," he ordered. "Sir, all human colonies are protected. Our hidden bases are activated. Earth's entire industrial capacity is now focused on the war effort. And sir," the officer paused, "our enemies still think we're weak. They haven't moved their ships away from our space." Porter nodded. "Send the final message to all human forces. Operation Total Response is now active. Remember your training. Remember why we fight. And remember, we didn't want this war, but we will finish it." Across human space, every ship, every colony, and every citizen received the message. The aliens were about to learn why the history books all said the same thing. Never force humans into a total war. The real fight was about to begin. The Blue Ring Empire made their first major mistake 3 days after humans began preparing for war. They attacked New Hope, humanity's largest colony outside the solar system. They expected an easy victory. They were wrong. Admiral Porter watched the battle unfold from the bridge of the Determination. "Status of New Hope colony?" he asked. "Sir, the colony's shields are holding. The Blue Ring fleet seems confused. They expected our defenses to be weak." His tactical officer smiled. "They don't know about the upgrades we installed last month." The Blue Ring fleet, consisting of 50 advanced warships, surrounded the colony. Their commander broadcast a message. "Surrender now, primitive humans. Your colony cannot survive our advanced weapons." Porter pressed a button on his command chair. "This is Admiral Porter of the Earth Defense Fleet. We gave you a warning. You chose not to listen." He nodded to his weapons officer. "Show them how primitive we really are." Suddenly, hundreds of small ships appeared from hidden bases around the colony. These weren't the simple trading vessels the aliens were used to seeing. These were Earth's real warships, kept secret for years. "Sir, enemy ships are firing their main weapons," reported the tactical officer. "Activate Point Defense System Alpha," Porter ordered. The aliens watched in shock as their energy weapons disappeared into nothing. The humans had developed special shields that absorbed energy attacks and turned them into power for their own weapons. "Impossible," the Blue Ring commander shouted. "Your technology is supposed to be behind ours." "That's what we wanted you to think," Porter replied. "All ships, execute Battle Plan 1. The human fleet moved with perfect coordination. Instead of fighting in the organized lines that other species use, human ships flew in strange patterns. They'd move like ocean creatures, flowing around enemy fire, striking from unexpected angles. Captain Miller, leading a group of smaller ships, demonstrated why humans were different. "All ships, scatter formation," he ordered. His vessels broke apart, each one acting independently, but all working together. The Blue Ring ships couldn't handle it. They were used to fighting enemies who followed standard battle rules. But humans fought differently. They used tricks. They hid their real strength. They attacked from every direction at once. In just 30 minutes, the entire Blue Ring fleet was disabled, not destroyed. Humans had targeted their engines and weapons first. They wanted prisoners, not casualties. Back at the Galactic Council, Ambassador Reed received urgent messages from both the Blue Ring Empire and the Crystal Collective. "Your ships, they're not primitive at all," the Blue Ring representative said, his voice shaking. "Why did you hide your real technology?" Reed looked at them calmly. "We tried to tell you. Humans don't fight like other species. We prepare. We hide our strength. And when we fight to win completely." The Crystal Collective representative spoke next. "But this is not how war is fought in civilized space. You're supposed to show your power, fight formal battles, follow the rules." "Rules?" Reed's voice was firm. "You attacked our trading ships. You killed innocent people. You ignored our warnings. Now you complain that we don't fight fair." On the main display, more battles were starting. Human fleets emerged from hidden positions all across space. Each one showed new weapons and tactics that shocked the alien forces. "Sir," a junior council member reported, "the humans are pushing back both the Blue Ring and Crystal forces everywhere. But they're not destroying ships when they don't have to. They're disabling them, taking prisoners." The head council member watched in silence. They finally understood. Humans weren't just fighting a war. They were fighting it their way. They had hidden their real strength, prepared in secret, and now they were showing the galaxy why every history book had the same warning. Never let humans start a total war, because once they start fighting, they don't stop until they win completely. 1 week into the war, the alien forces discovered something terrifying about humans. They learned and adapted faster than any species in the galaxy. Captain Miller stood in a briefing room with other fleet commanders, presenting their latest battle recordings. "The Blue Ring Empire keeps using the same attack patterns," he explained, pointing to the holographic display. "So we change our tactics every day. They can't predict what we'll do next." Admiral Porter nodded from his command chair. "Report on the new battle strategies." "Sir, we're using Earth's old naval warfare tactics in space," Miller replied. "Submarine warfare especially. Our ships hide in asteroid fields, waiting silently. The enemy never sees us coming." The alien fleets were struggling to understand human combat methods. In one sector, human ships would fight in tight formations. In another, they would scatter like dust and attack from all directions. Some human vessels would play dead, only to come alive and strike when enemies passed by. On the factory world of the Blue Ring Empire, their war leaders gathered in panic. "How are they building ships so fast?" one commander asked, watching scenes from the latest battles. "We destroyed 3 of their shipyards yesterday." "They're converting civilian factories to build military ships," another replied. "We take out 1 production center, they activate 2 more we didn't know about." Their entire economy is focused on the war effort. The Crystal Collective wasn't doing any better. Their perfectly organized battle fleets kept falling into human traps. They would chase what looked like a damaged human ship, only to find themselves surrounded. Their advanced sensors would detect a small human fleet ahead, but it would turn out to be a decoy while the real attack came from behind. In Earth's war room, General Thompson received the latest reports. "Sir, our new production facilities on Mars are ready. The alien forces still don't know we've built factories underground on every colony world." "Good," Thompson replied. "How are our captured alien ships doing?" "That's the interesting part, sir. Our engineers studied their technology and found ways to improve it. We're now building better versions of their own weapons to use against them." Ambassador Reed attended another emergency session of the Galactic Council. Many species were now trying to negotiate peace, terrified of how humans fought. "Please," a Blue Ring representative begged, "tell your fleet commanders to stop using these irregular tactics. It's not proper warfare." Reed looked at them calmly. "Proper warfare? There's no such thing. In war, you use every advantage you have. You learn, you adapt, you overcome. But your ships, a crystal being started, they fight like wild animals. No formation, no rules, hiding and striking from shadows." "Yes," Reed replied. "That's how humans survive. We study our enemies, we learn their weaknesses, and we never, ever fight the same way twice." On the front lines, Captain Miller's fleet demonstrated this perfectly. His ships had found a new way to use the enemy's own energy weapons against them. When Blue Ring ships fired, Miller's vessels would catch the energy in special shields and send it back twice as strong. "Sir," Miller's first officer reported, "the enemy is retreating from this sector. But they're sending a message to their high command. They're calling us demons of war." Miller smiled. "Send a message to Admiral Porter. Tell him Sector 7 is clear. And we found another weakness in their defenses." Back on Earth, Porter reviewed the latest battle reports. Humans weren't just winning. They were revolutionizing space warfare. Every defeat taught them something new. Every victory gave them new ideas. "Send word to all commands," Porter ordered. "Implementation of Battle Plan Omega begins tomorrow. Show them what happens when humans fight at full strength." The alien forces had thought they were ready for war, but they had never faced an enemy who turned their entire civilization into a war machine, who learned from every battle, who fought with determination, creativity, and absolute commitment to victory. They were about to learn why the old warning was so important. Never let humans start a war, because they'll rewrite the rules of warfare to win it. 2 weeks into the war, the Blue Ring Empire faced something they had never experienced before: total defeat. Their mighty fleets were scattered, their production centers were shut down, and their leaders were hiding in underground bunkers. Admiral Porter stood on the bridge of the Determination, watching the latest battle unfold. The Blue Ring's last major fleet was surrounded by human ships near their homeworld. "Sir," his communications officer called out, "we're receiving surrender signals from 30 Blue Ring vessels." Porter nodded. "Accept their surrender. Remind all ships, we take prisoners safely." He turned to his tactical display. "How many of their ships are still fighting?" "Only their flagship, Admiral. They refuse to give up." The massive Blue Ring flagship floated in space, its weapons still firing uselessly against human shields. Its commander's voice came through the speakers. "How? How did you defeat our superior technology?" Porter pressed a button to respond. "Because you thought war was about having better weapons. Humans know it's about having better strategies, better determination, and most importantly, better reasons to fight." Meanwhile, the Crystal Collective was facing its own crisis. Captain Miller's fleet had discovered a way to turn their crystalline technology against them. Human ships were using special sound waves that made crystal ships vibrate until they had to shut down. "Sir," Miller's sensor officer reported, "the entire crystal fleet in this sector is disabled. They're begging for mercy." Miller looked at his display. In just 2 weeks, humans had taken control of most crystal collective space, not by destroying their worlds, but by simply making it impossible for them to keep fighting. At the Galactic Council, panic was spreading. Ambassador Reed sat quietly as representatives from different species argued about what to do. The humans must be stopped. One alien shouted. They've defeated 2 of the strongest empires in weeks. But how? Another asked. They don't just defeat armies. They break the will to fight. Look at the Blue Ring Empire. Their people are surrendering everywhere. Reed finally stood up. We tried to warn you. When humans go to war, we don't just fight battles. We break the enemy's ability to make war. Their factories, their supply lines, their command centers, everything. The head council member looked terrified. What are your terms for peace? Just then, news arrived that changed everything. The Blue Ring Empire's government had collapsed. Their military leaders had surrendered. The Crystal Collective was calling for immediate peace talks. On Earth, General Thompson received the reports with a grim satisfaction. Show me the numbers, he ordered his staff. Sir, in 2 weeks we've captured 80% of Blue Ring territory and 60% of crystal space. Our casualties are minimal. We've taken more prisoners than we've lost ships. Thompson nodded. And our production? Still increasing, sir. We can keep fighting for years if we have to. But, the officer smiled, I don't think we'll need to. Back in space, Admiral Porter received an urgent message from Earth Command. He gathered his fleet commanders for a briefing. Both enemies are surrendering, he announced. But remember, humans don't just win wars. We make sure they don't start again. Captain Miller, attending via hologram, asked the question everyone was thinking. What are our terms, sir? Simple, Porter replied. They will dismantle their military fleets. They will accept human peacekeepers. They will compensate the families of everyone they killed. And they will help us build a new system to keep peace in the galaxy. The Galactic Council watched in amazement as human ships began helping the very people they had just defeated. Medical ships treated enemy wounded. Engineering teams helped repair damaged stations. Food and supplies were distributed to civilian populations. This is how humans wage peace, Reed explained to the council. We fight harder than anyone, but once the fighting stops, we work just as hard to build something better. The galaxy had learned its lesson. The old warning wasn't just about human military power. It was about their total commitment to winning, to peace, and to making sure such a war would never happen again. 1 month after the war ended, the Galactic Council chamber was different. Human peacekeepers stood at attention along its walls. Representatives from the former Blue Ring Empire and Crystal Collective sat quietly, their once proud empires now humbled. Ambassador Reed took the speaker's platform one last time. The chamber fell silent as he began to speak. 3 months ago, I stood here and warned you about starting a war with humans. Today, I stand here to talk about peace. He looked around the room. But first, let me tell you what happened after the fighting stopped. The main display activated, showing scenes from across the galaxy. Human ships were helping rebuild damaged stations. Earth's factories, instead of making weapons, were now producing medical supplies and construction materials for all species. Sir, a former Blue Ring commander spoke up. We don't understand. You defeated us completely. Why are you helping us rebuild? Reed smiled. Because that's what humans do. We fight harder than anyone when we must. But we build even better than we fight. Admiral Porter, now standing beside Reed, activated another display. It showed the new peace treaty's main points. First, Porter explained, all species will join a new defense council, led by humans and other peaceful races. Second, we will share our technology, not to make weapons, but to help everyone grow stronger together. Third, we will create a joint fleet to protect trade routes and stop future wars. Captain Miller, recently promoted for his service, stepped forward. We've learned something from this war too, he said. We learned that we're stronger together than apart. The head council member, looking both scared and impressed, asked, "And what happens to those who break these new rules?" "They'll face the same choice we gave you," Reed replied. "Join us in peace or face us in war. I think everyone here knows which choice is better." General Thompson, watching from Earth via hologram, added, "Our ships will patrol the trade routes. Our stations will protect colonies of all species, and our schools will teach everyone what we learned long ago, that peace must be stronger than war." The display changed again, showing something that made many aliens gasp. Earth's massive war fleet was being transformed. Warships were becoming exploration vessels. Weapon factories were turning into research centers. The entire human war machine was changing to serve peace. "But don't think we're becoming weak," Reed warned. "Every human ship, every station, every colony can still switch back to war production in days. We'll keep that ability, not because we want to use it, but to make sure we never have to." A young alien representative raised their hand. "What about the warning? The one about never letting humans start a war?" Reed looked at them seriously. "Keep that warning. Teach it to your children. But add to it. Tell them that humans fight to build peace. We destroy enemies by turning them into friends. That's our real strength." Admiral Porter stepped forward one last time. "The galaxy is changing. Old empires are gone. New alliances are forming. And at the center of it all, Earth stands ready, not to conquer, but to protect. Not to destroy, but to build." The council chamber erupted in applause, not from fear, but from genuine respect. They had seen humans at war, and now they were seeing humans at peace. Both were equally impressive. As the session ended, Reed looked out at the stars through the chamber's grand window. Human ships patrolled alongside former enemy vessels. Trading stations buzzed with activity from all species. Peace wasn't just a dream anymore, it was becoming real. "Remember," he said quietly, "the old warning still stands. Never let humans start a war. But remember why. Not because we're cruel, but because when we fight to change everything. And when we win not just the war, but the peace that follows." The galaxy had learned its lesson. The age of separate empires was over. The age of human-led peace had begun. And this time, it would last.